Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay, and I'm going to be explaining my case study as well as a lesson plan that attends to his needs. So just to begin, my case study is on a 6-year-old Polish boy named Adam who is in first grade. He's the baby of his family. He has an older brother and an older sister. His brother is in fourth grade while his sister is in third grade in the same school as him. The mom is a stay-at-home mom. The dad works full time. Um, the primary language spoken in the child's home is Polish, although all family members speak English fluently. So he doesn't have any issues with learning English as a second language. Both parents are very involved with the teachers and the support professionals who help Adam, but they rarely participate in school functions. So Adam was diagnosed with a specific learning disability with a weakness in mathematics, which is also referred to as dyscalculia. He did attend preschool from age 3 to 5, but still entered kindergarten struggling to count, recognize patterns, understand number symbols, and connect numbers to objects. Throughout kindergarten instruction, he had difficulty learning and recalling basic math facts. He still used his fingers to count and struggled to identify math signs like the plus and minus, and how to use them correctly. His teacher recognized this pretty quickly and referred him to the Committee of Special Education, where he did get the diagnosis of dyscalculia. They decided in first grade to keep him in a general education classroom with targeted assistant pullouts 2 times a week for 40 minutes with a one-to-one instruction. So this lesson is for a first grade classroom where he is right now, and I will be getting into that. Just a little bit more about him. Sorry, one second. Some of the things that the teacher does with this student is she reviews what he already knows before teaching him new skills. During independent work time, the teacher encourages him to talk about how to solve the problems. She allows him to write out charts or draw sketches to solve problems. He's able to use graph paper to help lining up numbers when doing standard algorithms. And the use of manipulatives is really big, and you'll see that in the lesson that I've adapted for him. Other accommodations made in the classroom for him, including testing modifications, are he gets untimed tests. He's allowed to use manipulatives during tests. He's given more space to write problems and solutions, and breaking down worksheets into sections really helps him. Okay, so let me get started with the lesson. This lesson is the saving money lesson. The central focus is during the lesson, students will develop their understanding of money, specifically why money is saved and how. Students will count coins with understanding and recognize how many in sets of coins. The Common Core learning standards that are addressed are KCCA1, which is to count to 100 by ones and by tens. That's a kindergarten standard. And then the other two are 2 NBTA2, count within 1,000, skip count by fives, tens, and 100s. In this case, they wouldn't really need to count by 100s. And 2 MDC8, solve word problems involving dollar bills, quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies using the dollar and cent symbols appropriately. So the lesson objectives are students will be able to define savings as the money put aside to use later. Students will be able to identify coins and their values, and students will be able to count money by pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters up to $1. So according to Cook, Klein, and Chen, 2017, on page 173, careful planning to include a change of pace during the day is essential to motivating children to learn. A variety of both individual and group activities consistent with the children's development level should be included. So this is how I went about this lesson, was kind of focusing on that, where students need to be moving around and be in group settings and individual settings and small groups. So I did that throughout the lesson. So to begin this lesson, the introduction, I would I would gather students on the carpet, and I would first show them a piggy bank. So I have a piggy bank here, and I would say to them, do you know what this is? What is this used for? So hopefully students would say that it's a piggy bank, or just a bank in general, because I know it's not shaped like a piggy. And hopefully they would know that you put coins or money into it, dollar and bills also. And then I would ask them, well, why do we put money into something like this? What is the purpose of that? And hopefully I would get out of them that it's to save money and to put aside money for later use. So I would ask them, have you ever wanted something and your parents say, no, we can't afford that right now, or you have to save up your money for that? And I would ask them maybe for some examples, and hopefully they would understand that when you save up your money, you can increase what you have and then hopefully get to an amount that you need to buy something. So that's how we would start out. And then I would introduce the book Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday. And I would say to them that as we go through this book, we're going to be looking at the money that he spent and show the coins that he spent throughout the book. But before I would start reading, I would tell students that we're just going to go over this poster of coins just to review the different coins. So I would say, boys and girls, we've all seen coins like this before, right? So let's just review what those coins are called and how much each one is worth. So I would say, here's a penny. That's 1 cent. That's in word form. And then one with this. Does anybody know what that symbol is? Yes, that's the cent symbol. So 1 cent. That's how we would write that. This is it in words, and that's it using the symbol. And then I would show the front of the coin. So this is what the front looks like. It has a face on it and the back of the coin. And I would go through each one. So a nickel is 5 cents. That's the front and the back of the coin. We have a dime, which is 10 cents. That's the front and back. And a quarter is 25 cents. Oh, I lost the front. The front and the back. Okay, so now that we've reviewed our coins, let's go over our story. So I'm just going to pull this up. We have to improvise here. It's a lot easier to teach in a classroom. Okay. So, Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday. So I'm not going to go through the whole story, but I am going to point out some of the pages that I have marked off. So the story starts out where he's upset that his brothers have more money than him. He says, it isn't fair because what I've got is bus tokens. That's all the coins that he has left. He said, even when I'm very rich, I know that pretty soon what I'll have is bus tokens. I know because I used to be rich last Sunday. Last Sunday, Grandma Betty and Grandpa Louie came to visit from New Jersey. They brought lox because my father likes to eat lox. They brought plants because my mother likes to grow plants. They brought $1 for me and $1 for Nick and $1 for Anthony because Mom says it isn't nice to say this, but we like money. A lot, especially me. So I would point out this dollar. So this is the dollar that Grandma Betty and Grandpa Louie gave Alexander. And I would ask the children if anybody knows how much $1 is worth. And hopefully, with some prompting, they would realize that it's equal to 100 cents. And then I would say, is there any other way that we can show 100 cents? Can we use other coins that we talked about? And I would point back to this and see if anybody has any background knowledge about how many of each coin is worth that $1. Okay, so then we go on to here. My father told me to put the dollar away to pay for college. He was kidding. Anthony told me to use the dollar to go downtown to a store and buy a new face. Anthony stinks. So I would say, why do you think Dad said to put the dollar away? What does that mean to put it away? And hopefully we would have a conversation about saving, maybe putting it in the piggy bank, or we would talk about putting it in a bank, an actual bank, and why people do that. And just have a conversation around that. Okay, so here's the first part of the story where he spends, oh, I'm sorry, not yet. Mom said, if I really want to buy a walkie-talkie, save my money. Saving money is hard. And then we would have a little discussion about that. Why do you think it's hard to save money? Do you like saving money? Have you ever saved money trying to get something that you wanted? Okay. So now throughout the story, I'm not going to read every page, but each part of the story shows how he loses this dollar and why he's left with only bus tokens in the end. So that's why I have these coins here. So before I read on, I would have them count up these coins. So here, look, boys and girls, I have some dimes, I have nickels, and I have pennies. So let's count those up and see what those are worth altogether. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What are nickels worth? 5 cents. So from 50, I count 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. And then pennies are worth 1 cent, right? So I count from 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. And 100 cents is equal to $1. So we're going to see how he must have exchanged his dollar for coins, because you're going to see in this story how he starts to lose these coins and gives them away. Because last Sunday when I used to be rich, I went to Pearson's drugstore and got bubble gum, and after the gum stopped tasting good, I got more gum. Goodbye 15 cents. So let's show, how can we get rid of 15 cents? What can we use? What coins can we use to show 15? Is there a coin that's worth 15? No, but there is a coin that's worth 10 and 5, and we know that 10 plus 5 equals 15. So let's get rid of that dime, right? And a nickel. Uh-oh. He's getting rid of his money already. Okay, and then I would continue on. I bet that I could hide this purple marble in my hand, and my mom would never guess which hand I was hiding it in. I didn't know that moms made children play. Goodbye another 15 cents. So let's see. Is there another way we can show 15 without using a dime? Okay, good. We can use nickels, right? So 5, 10, 15. So let's take off our nickels. 5, 10, 15. Alexander's really losing his money. He should be saving it. He should have listened to his dad, right? I absolutely was saving the rest of my money. I positively was saving the rest of my money. Except that Eddie called me up and said that he would rent me his snake for an hour. I always wanted to rent his snake for an hour. Goodbye 12 cents. Okay, so 12 cents. 10, 11, 12. So I took out my dime and 2 pennies. That's 12 cents. Anthony said, when I'm 99, I won't have enough money for my walkie-talkie. Nick said, I'm too dumb to be let loose. My father said that there are certain words a boy can never say, no matter how ratty and mean his brothers are being. My father fined me 5 cents each for saving them. Fined means that when you do something wrong, someone makes you pay money for doing something wrong. That's your consequence. So he had to give his dad a dime. So what is a dime worth? Yep, 10 cents. Good. So let's get rid of that dime. Last Sunday when I used to be rich, by accident, I flushed 3 cents down the toilet. A nickel fell through a crack when I walked on my hands. I tried to get my nickel out with a butter knife and also my mother's scissors. Goodbye 8 cents and the butter knife and the scissors. Okay, so he dropped 3 pennies in the toilet and a nickel. And a nickel is worth 5 cents, right? Last Sunday when I used to be rich, I found this chocolate candy bar just sitting there. I rescued it from being melted and smushed. Except the way I rescued it from being melted or smushed was that I ate it. How was I supposed to know it was Anthony's? Goodbye 11 cents. Okay, so we have a dime, we have nickels, and we have pennies. So how do we want to show 11 cents? Okay, we could do a 10, 10, a dime, and 1. That makes 11. I absolutely was saving the rest of my money. I positively was saving the rest of my money. But then Nick did a magic trick that made my pennies vanish in thin air. The trick to bring them back, he hasn't learned that yet. Goodbye 4 cents. What's the only way that we can show 4 cents? Yes, with pennies, because that's the smallest amount. We can't show, there isn't a coin that is worth 4 cents. There's a coin that's worth 5, but that would be too much. 2, 3, 4. Money is dwindling. Should have put it in a piggy bank. Anthony said that even when I'm 199, I still won't have enough for a walkie-talkie. Nick said they should lock me in a cage. My father said that there are certain things a boy can never kick, no matter how ratty and mean his brothers are being. My father made me pay 5 cents for kicking it. Goodbye, nickel. And here they told us a nickel, so we have to use a nickel instead of 5 pennies, which 5 pennies are still worth the same as a nickel. Last Sunday when I used to be rich, Kathy around the corner had a garage sale. I positively only went to look. I looked at half-melted candle. I needed that candle. I looked at a bear with one eye. I needed that bear. I looked at a deck of cards that was perfect except for no 7 of clubs and no 2 of diamonds. I didn't need that 7 or that 2. Goodbye, 20 cents. Okay, so how can we show 20 cents? We have left a dime and nickels. Okay, so we have 10, 15, 20. Uh-oh. Looks like Alexander's all out of money. Okay. So then it just goes on to say how he's thinking up of ways to make that money back, and it just doesn't happen. And then it ends with, last Sunday when I used to be rich, I used to have $1. I do not have $1 anymore. I've got this dopey deck of cards. I've got this one-eyed bear. I've got this melted candle and some bus tokens. So that would be the end of that shared reading. And then I would explain to students, we would just go over why it's important to save, and if he had saved, then maybe he could buy something that he wanted, that he really wanted, something that was bigger and more meaningful to him. And then I would say, well, when we save money in here, how am I going to know how much money I have in here once it's in? I can't see it, right? So what do we have to do with that? So then I would explain to them that it's important to count your money so that you can keep track of how much money you have in total. So I would say, so today, boys and girls, we're going to practice counting our money. And just to go back, oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, so then I would go back to the coin poster and just reiterate that, going through it, what the things are worth. And okay, sorry, one second. Okay, so then I would quickly pull out these cups that have different coins in them. And I would say that there are different ways of making 100 cents, which equals $1, using the different coins. So first, we're going to just focus on sticking to specific coins. So I would say here we have quarters, and how we count quarters is we count by 25s. You know what? No, I would start with pennies. I'm sorry. So I would start with pennies and say we count them one by one. And I would just go through each one. I'm not going to count all 100 right now. So I would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 100. Okay, we have $1. So 100 pennies equals $1. Then I would move on to nickels. And I would just model how we count things. And I would say we hold them in our hand, and we count one by one. And as we drop it, that's when we say the amount. Or if we have them laying out on the table, you can just point and count as you go. And at this point, I would probably call up a students that I know would do it correctly and would model the appropriate behavior to count these out. And then I would just have that student, that's not appropriate behavior, dropping them. So I would count 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. And then we would do dimes, counting by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And then quarters. This is always a tricky one because it's not one that they practice often, but I would have them count 25, 50, 75, 100, which is $1. And according to Noonan and McCormick in 2014, as stated in Cook, Klein, and Chen, 2017, page 176, in fact, one of the most important advantages of group instruction is the opportunity for observational learning. This form of learning has often been referred to as modeling and consists of imitation of another's actions. Observational learning cannot be left to chance. So not only are the students learning from the teacher, but they're also learning from their peers. And that's why I chose specific students to come up and model the counting of the coins. Okay. Okay, so then moving on to guided practice, teacher will send students back to their seats, and he or she, or I, would distribute the color by coin worksheet to help students identify the different coins. And this is just a quick review because, and it's also fun. They love coloring. So it just goes like this, and there's different colors here. So we have blue for quarter, purple for dime, green for nickel, penny, yellow, and they go through and just practice identifying. And these coins are flipped over front and back, so they are able to practice which are which. So they're doing that. After they do that, and I'm kind of circulating and seeing what's going on and seeing who needs some help. And then they would do this skip counting with money sheet that was provided in the lesson. And we would go through it together. And I would have this on the smartboard or underneath the document camera so that students are able to see what I'm doing and do that on their own on their sheet. So we would just go through 5, and then these are all nickels, 10, 20, 30, 40, and then they would write in the correct values on the bottom. So that's the guided practice. Okay. I would provide praise to students who handle the coins appropriately and who count correctly also as we're doing this guided practice. So according to Cook, Klein, and Chen, 2017, page 193, praise must describe in specific terms the behavior that the teacher wishes to have repeated either by the child being praised or by those who are watching at the time. Furthermore, the praise must give the child credit for his or her efforts or abilities. So I would say, oh, wow, Johnny, I love how you held up those coins. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, if I was referring to the skip counting with money, I would say, oh, I love how Johnny, as he's counting them, he's pointing to them. So we know you can keep track of your coins. So he's saying 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And before he moves on, he's writing in the numbers so he doesn't forget them. So I like how Johnny did that. So that would just be an example. Okay, independent practice. So based on the observations and the guided practice activity, I would divide students up into 3 groups. So I would have my advanced group, my on-level group, and then my intervention group. According to Cook, Klein, and Chen, 2017, page 166, curricula and room arrangements that provide centers with materials to manipulate and activities from which a child can choose ideally promote autonomous, confident behavior. So that's why I chose to differentiate these activities and also provide them with the coins so that they can manipulate them and it will help them to learn about them. So just to quickly go over the different activities that I have. So for the advanced group, I would have them, where is it? Sorry. I would give them these sheets. So with these sheets, it says just a penny. So draw the coins to match the given value. So now instead of having the coins there and they're counting them, they're doing the opposite. They're given the value and they have to draw the coins. And I would preface that with how to quickly draw coins instead of, obviously we can't draw out the Lincoln's face on a penny. I would just have them abbreviate and put a circle with a P in it for penny, circle with an N, nickel, D, dime, Q, quarter. And I would explain that to them before they work on this. So they have a just a penny where they're just using pennies to show the value. Just a nickel, using nickels to show the value. Just a dime, showing dimes to show the value. just a quarter. And then this one is a mixed. So pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. So they're using whichever coins they would like to show those values. So that's my advanced group. My on-level group would be doing something a little more similar to what we did in the lesson so far. So this is a penny count. So the pennies are already there and they're counting them up and writing the value in the box. And again, so they're doing the penny, nickel count, dime count, quarter count, and then mixed coins count. And this may be a little bit difficult for them because you have to switch from counting by a certain denomination and then going to something else. So that would be the last one that they work on. For my intervention group, I have this, the coin counting book, and this is a really great book that just goes through all of the different coins, how many coins make up a dollar, counting the coins. I'm not going to go through the whole thing now, but as we went through this, I would have my group using the actual manipulatives to model. They would have like a little mat in front of them, and I would sit with them, read the book with them, and have them show me the coins that they're showing in the book. So that's my intervention group. Let's see. Okay. And then during the intervention group for my specific case study child, Adam, I would make sure to praise Adam for his efforts in counting and identifying coins and their values because he does really struggle. And according to Cook, Klein, and Chen, 2017, page 193, young children, and especially young children with special needs, must be encouraged to focus on effort rather than outcome. After all, they may be able to control their efforts, even though successful outcomes are sometimes out of reach. So I would make sure to just give him encouragement and praise him for what he's trying to do, even if he's not doing it correctly. Before the time is up, to go back to the carpet, I would ring a bell just to let them know that time is almost up. So if you have coins out on your table or you're finishing up a worksheet, just letting them know that they have about 3 minutes left to do so. So according to Cook, Klein, and Chen, 2017, page 172, misbehavior often results when children do not know when or how to change to the next activity. Children should be given a signal, such as a flick of the lights or a soft word, that they will soon need to stop the activity in which they are engaged. Young children need time to become uninvolved, just as they need time to become involved. So then we would move to the closing of the lesson. I would invite students back to the carpet, and I would play this game with them. Oops, sorry. Okay. We would play I Have, Who Has. So I have 2 different versions of this game, I Have, Who Has. And the one that I would play with them is this one, where it has, it shows you the coins. So you would say, I have 2 dimes. Who has 3 pennies? And then the next student would say, ooh, sorry. Let's start with this one. The star in the corner shows that it's the first. So I have 1 penny. Who has 2 nickels? Oh, I have 2 nickels. Who has 1 dime? I have 1 dime. Who has 2 pennies? I have 2 pennies. Who has 1 quarter? And so on. So these would be mixed up and distributed to the students. They would sit in a circle and they would each read their card and have to figure out when it's their turn to read their card. The other one that I have so that would be the closing out of the lesson. We would play this game and I would be able to see who's able to do that. If they're able to do this quickly, I may move it along and have the same children keep their same cards, but actually no, I would probably switch them up because they may just remember who went before them. So I may switch up the cards and have them instead now say, I have 1 cent. Who has 10 cents? And then the next student would say, I have 10 cents. Who has 10 cents? And again, so these, you may want to play it that way depending on the group's ability. And then the extension to the lesson, I have this other I have who has, and this one is a little bit different where it involves the value in standard form, 23 cents. And then it also has the pictures of the coins. Sorry, these didn't print out that well. So it has the pictures of the coins. So they would go around and play that also. So that's the extension to the lesson. And then to support those who did not meet the learning objective, so that may be my case study student, Adam, I would pull him aside, not right then and there, but maybe sometime another time during the day or even the next day, or in the morning of the following day. I would pull him or those other students aside, and I would first practice skip counting with clapping, because sometimes that motion helps with the counting. So I would say, let's count nickels. If we want to count nickels, it would be 5 cents, right? So we would count by fives: 5, 10, 15, 20. And then I would just have these coins out and just give them a couple of coins, probably starting with the same value coin. So I would start with just some pennies. So I would give them a group of pennies and have them count them now. Then I would give them a group of nickels, have them count them out, and so on and so forth. And I think that is it. I am so sorry for the length, but I apologize and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.